This is a quick video on the access of the Ox controller. This works for the Ox Hero, Super, and the Eco. The access for the INOKIM OXO is different because there is a second controller spot right here. First thing you want to do is disconnect this cable lead up here, just so you have some slack to play around with. These Phillips screws around the perimeter all need to come out. Okay, you can take those out if you are lifting off the cover and moving it, because they will fall out. These ones around the charge port do not need to come out unless you are replacing this section right here. So lifting up from the rear, you unhook it past this little bit right here, and you have access to the inside. What I like to do to make things easy is use a bungee cord and hook it over the handlebars to keep it out of my way. I can access the inside and have it kept out of my way. So up front you have the controller, the silver box right here. You have the power from the battery, the XT60 connector. These yellow, blue, and green cables are the phase wires for the motor. Connects the controller to the motor in the rear. If you are replacing the controller, you will need to disconnect right back here. There's a terminal box that the phase wires connect between there and the rear motor. So for replacements, it's a great idea to take a photo of this before you start moving things around, because the front section here on the Ox is very particularly cable managed. It needs to fit a certain spot on the deck when you put it back together. So you can untuck the controller, disconnect power, and disconnect the wire harness. Unscrew, pop it out. That leads up to the throttle, up the handlebars. We have power, the motor data cable, sending a signal for it to go or stop. And then this one right here is part of the lighting module, which resides in this side panel right here. If you are replacing the light module, you'll need to undo this and take off this side panel, which is just 4 3mm hex screws. So for the rest of the removal of the controller, disconnect the light module, remove anything holding down the cables. You can scoot the battery forward a bit to be able to access things behind it. And here you see the terminal that houses the connectors between the motor. There are 2 Phillips screws holding that together. Just lift up the foam and you'll see them. There we go. So now these are 8mm nuts. you want to disconnect those and reconnect everything in the same color orientation, blue with blue, green with green, yellow with yellow. It doesn't matter which slot they fill, just as long as the colors are the same together. You'll also need to disconnect this cable here that runs from the motor. Once everything's been disconnected, a new controller has gone in. Put everything back together. These are plastic screws, just to deal with voltage, so it's safer, but that also means you need to be gentle with them and not over tighten them. So, to get everything back together, rip the battery. Tuck that in there. Make the cable run same direction. And if you've installed a new controller, when you connect a battery to it, it will spark or pop. That is normal. Don't be scared about it. It's the voltage equalizing between the two. And we want to make sure that we connect the light module, which is the green connector. Connect that one up. They do only line up one way, so just make sure that you're connecting everything with the notch in the hole. So everything should line up and not go together unless it's properly aligned. Okay. I'm going to go around the cables. I think I probably got it in backwards. So these black wires will tuck in front. This power tucks in behind between the battery and the controller. You want to make sure when you put everything back together, it sits below the plane of where the deck will sit. You don't want anything getting pinched. So if you need to, if you have foam tape on hand, use that. Use some electrical tape, make sure everything sticks down where it initially was. Everything is sitting flush. Make sure the controller is hitting the bottom. You can hear it. And when you're putting everything back together, make sure those wires tuck into that front spot. He's a little finicky. Because I have the screws still in there, they're trying to sit in my way. So brake cable needs to sit under the edge. Make sure everything gets put back together with that underneath there, and that this lip sits over top and is hooked on there. And then go ahead and tighten all the screws down and re-cable manage the front. And if you've taken the light module off, connect that back up, and that's everything.